Okay, so let's see if someone can hear me. So I think I'm going to say things without sense for a couple of minutes, so at least someone can tell me whether you can hear me and how is the voice, and yeah, if it's acceptable. So first of all, it's 8 o'clock, so welcome. This is the first episode of LCCC algolab. I think some words about the title. LCCC stands for Live Coders Collective Copenhagen, which is the city where I've been streaming from. We are a collective mainly focused on making audio visuals. The current solution, which is not optimal. Okay, this is interesting. This is something new. It says check the video resolution, which I don't know how to change. So I'm sorry, this is gonna be interesting. I think I can't really do it that much. I will try to find a solution for next one. So for today, just stick with me, and I hope it's not that bad. I think probably you will see some black stripes at the borders, but yeah, we'll make it better. So I was saying about the Live Coders Collective Copenhagen. We're actually not so many people as of today. We hope to be more, and we are mainly focused on doing audio visuals using live coding. What live coding is live coding, just to put it shortly, is a way of using programming languages to make art, and that's quite interesting. It probably lies somewhere in between music and technology. So it's something you could say something which is a niche, and we sort of hope to spread the word because it's fun and it's easy to start with, and there's no right or bad things when it comes to art. It's just there's just making something and having fun. At least this is what I personally think. So what does algolab stand for? Algolab stands for algorithmic labs. So the idea is to stream this whole week, and we're gonna stream mostly all of us. So it's not gonna be only me. And the idea is to get something done in a reasonable amount of time, which is 60 minutes, using algorithms, and ideally the results should be quite pleasant and should be quite colorful in terms of music and or visuals. And to make it a bit more interesting, we thought that we might put some constraints in how we do things. So for instance, what am I trying to do tonight? So I'm gonna try to make some nice rhythmic sequences, and I will have 60 minutes, more or less. I don't know if I should include the presentation or not, but ideally not more than 60 minutes. And what are the constraints? Constraints are that I will use a live coding language for this that I will shortly introduce thereafter. And the constraints would be to use the bare minimum. So no nice functions, no nice generators. So trying to think about a musical idea and describe it using code. And hi, Søren Peter, can you please tell me how things are, audio-wise, video-wise? I might have an idea, but I don't have the big picture, so please just be free to comment. And also, one more thing about constraints, which is not really a constraint, it's more of an opportunity, at least for us, for me tonight. So I would love whoever is following and whoever is going to join, and whoever is already here. So I will try to document my way of doing things. So I will try to be descriptive. I will try to speak out what I think, and I would love to interact with you, which means I will probably ask here and there, how's it going? How do you like it? Do you have any idea? Because the truth is that I don't have any idea about what I'm going to do. So I need some input, and it could be also fun because I don't know who's following, and I don't know whether you're a musician or you're more interested in the technical aspect of live coding techniques. So there could be definitely some nice discussion going on, and I would say that's all. So let's see what I'm going to use tonight. So tonight I'm going to use Tidal Cycles. Also, I decided to stream the whole screen. I think it makes sense because I might just want to go and show you things. So it's not super fancy, but I think it makes more sense in a laboratory context. And also, please just what is clear resolution a bit low, yeah, and feel free to tell me, yeah, whatever is going on. So we were saying, so tonight I'm going to use Tidal Cycles. Tidal Cycles is an amazing live coding language. So this is a Haskell domain-specific language, which, put it shortly, means that it's sort of a language on its own, built on top of another language, and we use this to do specific things. So it has a specific application, and the application is, of course, to make music. And how does it work? So I'm going to use this, and I'm gonna write things. I'm gonna write some code, and then I'm gonna just evaluate the code, which means basically I'm gonna say to my audio engine, please do this. And my audio engine is Super Collider. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to build some patterns, and I'm going to use these things over here, which probably you don't have an idea about what they are, but those are sample libraries. Some of them come within the language, some others, they are just homemade, so to speak. So the purpose here is to use these samples and to arrange these samples in a meaningful and musical way. And once I have decided what kind of structure I want to arrange my samples, I'm just going to say to this audio engine, to Super Collider, please make it audio. So I have basically my code talking to this, and this is going to be responsible for what you will be listening. And well, good. So thing is, where do I write the code? And I'm going to write the code in a terminal. So let's make it a bit bigger, and I think you can all see. Yeah, I think it's big enough. So I'm going to do this thing. So I'm gonna go and just, first of all, I arranged things in some folders. I have a nice folder where I save stuff, which is called Tidal, and I'm going to create a file, and I'm gonna call it LCCC algolab 1, and I have to give the Tidal extension. This is just for evaluating purpose. I'm just gonna skip the details. You just feel free to ask me questions if you want to know something more, but I think this is not the purpose of tonight. And here I have a blank thing, which is not really white. It's a bit more blackish. So basically, I'm gonna write some stuff here. And how does this work? So I'm going to say I'm just gonna use some esoteric thing, and I'm gonna say I want to use one sample, and I want this sound, for instance, just a bass drum, or I can actually use some custom samples. And if I don't remember, just go here and then check, do I have a damage bass drum? Yeah, this is something that comes from my last album with the band that I was having in Italy. So basically, this is enough for me to hopefully listen to something, and I'm just going to try to evaluate it. And I think you can see something, and you can listen to something. So basically what happened is that I said to the other guy, to Super Collider, I want to use this sample over here, and I want to give it to this track. So we might think of it as a mixer. So we have different tracks in a mixer. I don't remember exactly what's the maximum number allowed here, but what we can do, we can use all these different tracks in a mixer. And for instance, as you would use a track for the bass drum, a track for the snare, a track for the hi-hat, then we can do the same here. So this is, say, our digital version of a mixer, or let's say our not so fancy digital audio workstation, if you want to think about this way. And the way I'm going to build rhythmic sequence is to define a way to concatenate samples here over time, and the time is going to be defined by unit measure, which is the cycle. So I'm just going to define and I'm going to describe a cycle. And basically, once I make things start, then the cycle would just loop itself on and on and on until I decided to stop. Just gonna see, and no one told me anything. The thing is that now I think you should have been introduced a little bit to what is LCCC, what's the purpose of this streaming, what am I going to use. I think I haven't really introduced myself, but my name is Mattia, and I go also with the moniker Pattern. I have another one, but it's a bit more informal. Maybe I will just disclose it maybe later this week. And I'm one of the people behind Live Coders Collective Copenhagen. I studied music, I studied some computer music, I did a bit of this, a bit of that, and now I found myself into live coding because I probably didn't have anything better to do. And yeah, that's why I'm here. And the thing is, now I'm going to start experimenting a little bit because I am sick of talking. And I think also probably you will appreciate a bit more some audio, but I don't know what, I don't know how to do. I don't know what exactly I'm going to do. And of course, since I don't know exactly what I'm going to do, I'm open to suggestions. So my idea is that I'm going to spend 45 minutes and I'm gonna, of course, take a look at my code because I have to. And every 2-3 minutes, I will just come back and I will try to take a look at the live chat and see if anyone wrote me. And hopefully and luckily, if I find some suggestions and some questions, I will answer the questions or I will elaborate on the suggestions. If you think about, if you have anything that you would just share with me, or if you have a musical idea that you would like to share with me. And that's all. Just one fun fact, you're probably going to see some gibberish, which goes under the way better name of MiniNotation. So I think I wrote before that I'm not going to use any sort of these nice functions. There are hundreds of functions. I'm just going to use just the bare minimum. And I would say this is a super powerful bare minimum. And I have to be honest, this is going to be really interesting to me because sometimes I just get lost into a lot of functions and I never really get to appreciate the beauty of something really simple yet super complex. So this is what I'm going to stick on, and this goes under the term MiniNotation. You can find everything if you go and take a look at this website, which is tidalcycles.org. And that's all. And I will try to explain also what I'm trying to do. So we're back here, and I'm just gonna make some music. And I think probably I'm just gonna turn this a little bit down so we do not fight between each other. So we have a bass drum, and I will see that looks quite interesting, but of course after a while it gets really boring. So we might think of double the speed, and we might say, okay, good. So I just want this times 2, which means I want 2 instances, 2 bass drum samples in a cycle. And I'm assuming that the cycle is just a regular meter. So we're talking about a 4/4 meter. And I guess the BPM, the speed should be around 120 BPM. But if I do this, of course, we start to have things going, and after a while this gets really boring, or let's say it depends. I might find this not so exciting after a while, so I have to find ways to make it a bit more interesting. How to? So let's say I might try to decide that the second sample, so the second step in my cycle, might sound, but might also not. So I just decided I don't want it to be triggered every time, but I want some uncertainty, and to express uncertainty I use the question mark, and let's see what changes. That's quite interesting. So basically what happens is that I always have the first sample, I always have the sample played in the first step, but the question mark basically tells me that sometimes the second step, the sample in the second step might be left out. And the way I define that there's a first step and a second step is using this dot over here. I'm just going to check for some. There's no... Come on, I trust you. You can come out with some questions. So, okay, so let's say that's interesting, but not so much interesting after a while. So we might think of making it a bit more elaborate, which means I can decide to apply the same principle that I have here, which is I want a sample to play every now and then, but why not do it in the first step? So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to say, please, I just want to put two things in the first step using the same concept as I've used here. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to use square brackets, and I'm going to say I want one more of this, and I expect that I will hear actually two bass drums in the first step. This makes sense, but I don't want the second one to play all the time, so I'm just gonna use the same notation as before. And this makes things a little bit spicier, if I can say so. So I would say that's not bad at all. But let's say I want to define, let's say, 4 steps. So I'm gonna have 4 steps. This is the first one, this is the second one, which is the empty, this is the third one, and this is the fourth one. Right now I'm gonna have a problem, because you will hear a lot of silence in between, because basically the step number 4 was the step number 2 before, and if we have a cycle and we divide it into 2, then that means that basically the second step is triggered after half. But if we divide the cycle into 4, that means that now the half stands between the 2, between the second and the third, So basically what I should do in order to keep the same structure as I have it right now is to move the sample from step number 4, current step number 4, to step number 3. So I will trigger this as it is right now. You will hear the difference, and then I will make the change so you can actually see that things go back the way used to hear. So let's try this. So as you can see, I think it makes sense to have also some sort of some small metronome, not too harsh, but you can understand things going on. And of course I want it on every step. So as you can see now, this sample over here plays on the step number 4. So what I have to do now is to put it back here on step number 3. We can also keep it like this. And I would say, just to make things extremely clear, I would say that here I just have a pause. And if I evaluate it again, of course this is still working. So we have a question here, and question says, can you make it so that the 2 last samples does not play at the same time by random? Okay, I actually don't know the answer, so let's go and check it. So I'm using this question mark that says randomly remove events from pattern, which is basically equivalent to this expression over here, but because I said that I'm not going to use any shortcut, of course this is not allowed, at least today. But to answer the question, the 2 last samples does not play at the same time. That was when you only had 3 sounds. Can you make it so the 2 last samples does not play at the same time? I don't understand if you mean you want, say, this sample to play random, but with a different, say, random from these. And in this case, I would say I'm actually not sure, because random is not really random. So I'm just wondering whether this random and this random, just wondering whether they have the same seed. This is something that I personally don't know, so I don't know how to answer. And then just try to understand exactly what you're telling me. There was when you only have 3 sounds. Let's do something same time by random. And I would ask you, Søren, to elaborate a little bit, because I think I don't understand completely what you're saying to me. Let's say that for now, because I want to have some reoccurring, I want to have some fixed event in the beginning and in the end of my cycle, I'm just going to remove this. And I think also it's quite interesting to play with some odd rhythms. Let's make a trial. This sucks. Nah, I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. I don't like it at all. What I used, could they have the same seed times -1? For one of them, yeah, I understand what you're saying. I think actually, I don't know. Actually, I don't know. So problem is, I'm quite sure that you can. I'm quite sure that you can set different seeds. I just don't know how to do it. I have to be honest, because I'm not a Haskell proficient person. But this is a really interesting question, so I think I would just escalate this question to the guy who is actually the master of it, which is Alex McLean, which is the person who created and has been developing mainly this, because that's quite interesting. So let's say right now we just assume that when you have a randomic event, the seed is going to apply for all the different random sequences. And yeah, and let's just assume this, although I'm not completely sure about what I'm not completely sure about my statement, and I'm sorry I can't answer any better to the question. So just to be back to what I did just a little bit before, and I might have a dog barking, so that's fine, you will hear it. I'm sorry I can't sample it. We'll do it another time. So here I tried to use something called Euclidean rhythm, which is basically just a fancy way to have a certain amount of events spread over a certain amount of subdivisions, in a way so that the space in between the events is regular. So basically you have regular and equal rests between different events. This is at least what Euclidean, say, rhythms stand for. They come from all over the world. They belong to a lot of different ancient traditions. That be Middle East traditions, Bulgarian traditions, Turkish, European, whatever. But the problem here is that I was trying to basically to squeeze 3 samples of my bass drum in the last step, and if we can hear it again, I think there's no room for 3, especially if we have this sort of odd subdivisions. So I'm just gonna remove it. I'm sorry, but I was thinking to have some interesting combination of pose and samples, so to speak. If run then play the second sound. If zero then play the third. Okay. I get your point. Yes, I can do it. I can definitely do it. But what does this mean? This means that I have to create a function, and particularly I have to use monads, and this is freaking complicated. And of course I can't use functions because I said I'm not going to use functions tonight, so I'm sorry, maybe tomorrow, but I'm just going to keep going. So I want a nice combinations of sounds and rests, so I'm just going to put it here in the last one. Yeah, and I'm going to do the same trick as before. So now I can define subdivisions within the same step, and I'm saying just try to do this. So I want the last bass drum to really trigger for the beginning. which means that I'm going to make it shorter, which means that I'm going to split the last step into two, and this is probably what's going to happen. The bass drum will be triggered later, and you will hear more, how to say, there's going to be more tension. And if we put this back, and if we make a pattern here, so we have the first one a bit so as you can hear, so we have definitely way more traction. It's nice, it kicks in. So I think I would definitely go for something like this. And I think also I like to use sync up. I like to use this, but I don't want to use the same thing in the third as well. So I think I would just replicate. I would just replicate this here, and I'm going to put it instead of the pose. Almost. I still have to learn how to use Vim properly, like a master. But boom, and there's an extra space over there. And there's an extra space over there. I need a space here. But this, I don't want to have it all the time. So I think this sounds quite interesting. Of course, this is just one thing. So the problem now is, how do we add things on top? So we have two ways. The first one is to keep using the MiniNotation, which basically says that we can use the comma here to stack multiple patterns. But if we think of it, that means that basically I just have to take the whole thingy here, and then I have to say, okay, I'm going to make one more set of square brackets, and then I'm going to put a comma here, and then I'm going to define here, for instance, that I want to play let's say a snare. I want to play a snare every second, like this. And I think I made something wrong. Yeah. Well, the problem is that if we do something like this, then it's gonna get so incredibly long and complicated. So if you allow me, I'm just gonna go let's say the recording studio way, which is I'm just going to put my snare into another track. Of course, here I'm just gonna put it all the way down to the right, and I'm just gonna say, okay, so the first track is gonna be a nice kick, and the second one is gonna be a nice snare drum. If you haven't noticed it, I think I have. I exhibit quite strong background in rock and all this kind of music thingy. So I'm sorry. I think you would not hear anything too much EDM-ish. Probably be more rock industrial thing, more Nine Inch Nails, something similar. So I'm just gonna go for this. So we're gonna make things a bit clearer, and I'm just gonna say that this is our kick, and now we make some snare. So let's try to find a nice rhythmic pattern for our snare, and I have 20 minutes left. So let's see. I still don't see any comments, so I think I would just say, okay, I'll keep it as it is. I'll just make some variability here and there, saying that if you remember, damage bass drum identifies over here a folder where I have some samples. In this case, I have 5 samples, which means that I can choose between 5 different carefully handcrafted samples that I basically stole from our last album. So how to choose a different sample in the folder? We go back to the MiniNotation, and it says selecting samples, and this means I'm choosing sample number 4. We should just remember that in programming languages, the beginning is always number 0. So 0 is the first, 1 is the second, and 2 is the third. So we're talking about what is the index of the sample that I want to trigger. So if I go back to thanks, Sir Peter. If we go back to this, then you can definitely see I wish I could use a different trick, but the thing is I'm not going to use any trick. So I'm just going to use the MiniNotation, and I'm saying I like the first one and I like the last one. It's really nice and it just fucking love it. So I'm just gonna say, I'm just add some variability here and there where I have samples that might play as well as they might not. So I'm just saying, let's just say I just want the sample number 2 here, and I want sample number 3 here, and I want sample number 4. Jesus Christ, see, I got confused myself. I want third sample, and then remember always to cut in your elbows. And here I want the 4th. So let's see how it sounds. Yeah, it sounds quite weak. It's a bit, not so nice. I'm awaiting comments, but personally I don't like it. So I think I'm just gonna go and I'm just gonna make some mess. I'm gonna use the industrial folder and something from the distortion one. But let's see what happens if I just put this and I say just for the first one, trust you. Oh, that's cool. I just don't like this. Oh yeah. But we can do better. This sucks. How many? 5 samples. I have 5 samples. So let's see. Number 4. Wait, this is cool. So I think I'm just gonna get away with this and just let me do this just for the sake of just not to get too messy. I'm just gonna say that when there's a rest over here, I want sample playing before stopped. So as you can see, it's more of a say old drum machine style where I treat the rest as an active silence. So I'm imagining to play a sample of silence just to make things a bit tighter. Otherwise, we're gonna end up with too much noise and too much mess. So let's make some noise here, and I'm gonna use some distorted sample. Yeah. And I'm gonna say, I want the same structure repeated, which means that I'm going to do this trick over here, which is I want a silence, and then I want my sound, and I want, yes. And I want this to be repeated. So how to say repeat this? We go back to the MiniNotation, and this says replicate the pattern. So we basically replicate this twice, which means that we split the cycle into 2, and then we're gonna have, since this is made of 2 steps, we're gonna have 4 steps. The first and the third is gonna be silence. The second and the fourth is gonna be some noise. And let's double check. Maybe we should have also this. I think I should take this. And I can't hear my sample. Why I can't hear my sample? Jeez, I'm so bad. So, okay, so let's go back and say, maybe we need a bit more volume. Yeah, that's what. There's no such sound. That's the problem. Good. That's what was wrong. Why there's no such sound? Because it's called SN. It's not called SD. I'm a bit stupid. It's a bit late. I'm hungry. So we go back to this. Okay. So what I can do, I can go back to this thing, and I'm gonna say, please play this. So we go back to this. We go back to our metronome. Oh. I think this is a bit better. Of course, after a while it gets a bit boring, so maybe the sound is a bit boring. What's this? Ah, good. Yeah, of course. I think I like this. And if I have to be honest, I also like some nice rim, although this is technically not possible, but I don't give a shit. So I'm gonna do this, and I'm gonna do exactly what I was doing before, which means I want to play two sounds at the same time, and I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna copy this over up, and I'm gonna copy it here, but this time I'm gonna use something called rim, which is gonna give me some nice gentle body, hopefully. It didn't really change that much, but I think that's sort of nice. And the thing is, I don't know if I want it all the time, because this is really oppressive, and on the other hand, I don't know if I want the same, so I'm gonna say please switch between number 3 and number 4. And this is not gonna work the way I want it. So what happened? What happened just there? I was trying to say, using the MiniNotation, I want to alternate between patterns. In this case, I just want to alternate between samples. So I was saying, okay, since this is the folder and this is the index, so maybe I can just say, please alternate between the indexes. But this seems not working exactly, so I've got a problem here. So I think the way it has to go is this. So I have to say I want to, oops, good. Yeah, for the next quarantine I'm going to learn how to use Vim better. So I want to use these, and I want to include it. Oops, what happens? Yes, and I want to include it in between angular brackets. This didn't work and I don't know why. I'll do it again. In between angular brackets, and then I'm saying please alternate between this and, let's say, the next one. And of course we have a problem here. No, we don't have any problem here. We don't have a problem here. No. Exactly if this works. Yeah. It's just it's not there all the time. But now I think you can get it. Or maybe I'm doing something wrong. Could also be. Let's just say we keep it as it is. And we also take it a bit down. course, there's no room, there's no reverb, there's no nothing, so it sounds a bit dull and dry, but what can I say? I said no functions today, so now we miss some cymbals somewhere over there. I'm quite sure that we can make the snare better, but I'll just get back to him if we have time. And so let's make some cymbals, some hi-hat. So ideally, I would say we can start with the easiest thing ever, which is I just want to have 16 things the same. Of course, this sounds a bit boring, so let's see how we can do interesting things. So ideally, I want a hi-hat to be. I want it to ideally to be as a sort of counterpoint to the main accents in my pattern. In this case, my patterns. But the problem is, since I have a bunch of accents here and a bunch of accents here, then this would be extremely long and complicated to write one by one. Because of course I need to write this, and then let's say I want a pause, and then I want another one. So let's see if the MiniNotation can help me. So let's see. Well, maybe it's time to start using Euclidean sequences. Maybe this is exactly something that can help me achieve a result in short time, since I have very few time left. So back again. So how to make a Euclidean rhythm? We said we need to specify how many do we want, and also how many subdivisions we have in the cycles. So we know for sure that we have 16 subdivisions, and if we do 16 over 16, then we get exactly the same thing that we had before. I'm just gonna take it down a little bit in terms of gain, but you can hear it. It's the same as before, of course. And let's see if we have also something a bit more interesting, maybe electro. Let's see, how does it sound? Maybe a different one. I think I kind of like this one. Yeah, it's more, say it's more natural, but 16 over 16 is definitely too much. So let's try to take something out. Let's try to have 11. That could be interesting. No suggestion for you. I'm so sad, no one is writing me. Problem is still too much, because I want to make a combination of different hi-hat. So let's say that I want to have 5. Good. The problem is that now this, yeah, this is too, the snare is too high. Yeah. And I also want to raise a little bit the kick. The problem is that I can't listen to my voice, so yeah. But the problem is now, as I said, I want different hi-hats. I just don't want one. So I'm just gonna do this. Let's stack one more pattern with a different sound. Perhaps the one that I got before. Was it number 1? Yeah. Nice. And I also want the samples to stop half subdivision. No, I don't like it. Sucks. This is definitely better. So how to make this sounding on different subdivisions? Well, we changed the way we changed the number of repetitions. That could be a thing. So for instance, I want 8 subdivisions and I want it to play every 3. But now it sounds a bit too much. So maybe, let's say I wanted 3/16. Oh, that sounds nice. But I don't want it all the time. Sounds kind of nice. So I would say what I really miss is some how to say, very high pitched sound. I don't know how to define it. I will call it Avanotto sound. I don't know actually why I'm saying Avanotto, but my idea is to have some very drilling sound, and I'm trying to understand what's the folder for me, and I think the folder is this: Damage Electro, Effects, perhaps. And yeah, let's see what happens. Of course, this is definitely not high pitch. Let's see. There should be actually a folder here which I used to use, which is, I think, glitch. I think it's the glitch folder. So maybe this can help me. Let's see. Oh, I love this. Jesus Christ, how good it is. So, we found our samples. And personally, if I have to be honest, I would like to go... I think I don't like this snare too much. That's the problem. So I think I'm just gonna go back to some yeah, looks way better. I personally don't know what to do with this sound because it sounds so good and I love it. And no one has any suggestions, so maybe we can have it, let's say, every second, and then we can have another one Of course, this doesn't mean anything. Okay. I personally like this a lot. Of course, we can make way more things, but I think it's just a hybrid. So personally, what I really like about this is that, so what I was having in mind using this Alvanoto sound is to have something a bit more electro, but the truth is that I probably miss some nice 808 sound, especially these very bass sounds. But of course, I mean, I can have something, so we can do the last one. I know I'm definitely late, but I just wanted to finish this. So we can have some sort of, we can have some bass. I think there should be a folder called 808 bass drum. So let's see how this sounds. That's really cool. But ideally, I would love to have it a bit more. And I think it's also a bit too much. So I would just put a low pass filter. I know I'm not allowed to use functions. This is just for us. But I think it does really make sense, a low pass filter, because it's just really low frequencies, so I just need to scale it. And how to make it interesting, I would say we want a rest of the first one. We don't want anything here, or even better, we want a rest, and then we want another one over here, and then we're halfway through, and then I want, of course, one here at the beginning of the third cycle, just to emphasize, and then I probably want something like this in the fourth cycle. It basically says the third cycle is just 1, and the fourth cycle is divided into 4. You see how it sounds? I so love it. Too much snare. Ideally, I would love to have a electro snare, an electro hi-hat. Maybe we can grab something. Should be overhead, perhaps. So 808 overhead. No, I definitely don't like it. I should have better electro sounds. I'm quite sure I can find something somewhere, but I'm definitely out of time. So, and yeah, those were not the rules. So, I think I'm just gonna, yeah. Let's see, let's just give it one last try if we find something interesting here. So I think I personally love this. And as you can see, so we have 5 tracks over there. The first one, which is a kick drum, where basically I'm just mixing samples from different folders. And I have a snare track where I have basically a combination of a snare and a rim, just because I want this sort of edgy sound. And the sound, actually, the snare sound might play, but might not. And then I've got a hi-hat track where I have a combination of different electro hi-hats playing different Euclidean rhythms. So ideally, I will have something playing on the left and something playing on the right at different points in time. And then we're going to have other note sounds. I'm going to have some random glitch samples, which are amazing, and some very spot on 808 bass drum sound. And I think that's it. So, what did we learn tonight? So I think we learned that first of all, people are a bit shy because actually only CERN asks some questions, and I think I mean, please don't be shy. I mean, I would love to hear something from you. Because the problem is that I spent a lot of time just going back and forth because I didn't really know exactly what I wanted to do. And having feedback from different people makes it way more exciting, I think, for everyone. But I really hope tomorrow there's going to be a bit more interaction. So we learned that something exists which is called Tidal Cycles, which is what I was using. Tidal Cycles is a bunch of nice characters that translates into music. The way all the green strings that you see over there are basically my way to define rhythmic sequences. So it's the same as I were writing something down on a score, and the same as I would learn it and play it. The learning step here is not really required in terms of me playing it nicely, because of course, I mean, there's a laptop playing it for me, but it's more of a try error approach, where basically I have to define something which goes in time and is made of pa to pa into no, I have to unwrap it, and I have to write it in a format which is understandable by the audio engine, which is the one that makes the sounds. So we learned that there's super powerful let's say subset of Tidal Cycles, which is called MiniNotation, that allows to do everything without even touching one function. Of course, this could have been probably a bit easier. We could have been a bit more variability here and there, but I really just wanted to challenge myself to come up with something which is nice without using almost anything. So just thinking about how I would say, if I were a drummer, how I would start building things while I'm on the drum, and I would just start poking around and come out with a nice rhythm. This rhythm, of course, is not, I think it's not really feasible on a drummer point of view, because we have a lot of things that play together, maybe two drums, as King Crimson used to do. Maybe they're still doing it, but anyway, I think I just lost it. So yeah, I think tomorrow we are going to keep it a bit shorter, because hopefully there will not be all that boring introduction that I gave. I will also try to talk a little bit less. And I still don't know exactly what I'm going to define as a constraint for tomorrow. Probably we're going to take the same. We're going to take probably what we did today, and then we're going to rearrange it in an easy way, wherever applicable. And we're going also to introduce a bit more variability in terms of how to take these and not make it equal every single cycle. So we are going to introduce some concepts such as perhaps we can tweak something, some pattern that we have defined, and we can do strange things every now and then. It could be every second cycle, every third cycle. And we also, maybe we will try to understand also how to make possible that we have patterns where, according to the random, according to a randomic factor, we're going to play either one sample or either the other one. I have an idea for this, but I think we're gonna talk about tomorrow. And I hope, last thing, I hope this was nice. I personally had a lot of fun, and yeah, I think that's all. And I'm hungry, so I'm gonna go and have a dinner, a Spanish time, so I'm still on time for Spanish dinner. And that's all. So I hope to see you tomorrow, and that's all from Copenhagen and from LCCC, algolab number 1. Cheers. I hope to see you tomorrow. Bye bye.